Hello and welcome back to the Garian Tabletop and the Solland Uprising Mighty Empires campaign. I am Garian Reaver, and this is the fourth and final battle of round 4. This is between the Empire and Sylvania. Specifically, this is a force from Stirland. Before having a look at the armies, let me give you a little bit of background for this battle. This is an ordinary open battle, however the story behind it is that a force marched out of Sylvania into Stirland, headed by a number of necromancers. There was a veritable horde of zombies to begin with, and they fell upon the village of Kovbad. Normally they would sort of consume the village and then move on, however they didn't, they stayed there. They overran the village, they raided every graveyard for miles around, and they waylaid travellers and anyone foolish enough to try and attack them, raised them all into a big horde, and then just stayed in Kovbad. Zombies were even seen doing things like looking as if they're standing guard. Not that they are actually capable of that, but it seemed like the necromancers were playing this little game. In response, Stirland raised an army and have now sent it to try and take Kovbad back. Because of this, each side was allowed to pick 3 pieces of terrain to put in or next to their deployment zone. This represents how both sides basically had plenty of time to prepare for this battle. The Sylvania side because they control the village, and the Empire side because they could choose the exact direction from which they would attack. It is a 2,000 point match, however they have both put in a bit of gold to bring it up to 2,050 each. So let's have a look at the armies. Starting with Sylvania, this is a bit of an experimental army. I'm having fun playing with these different army builds. This one is very similar to the round 1 army in that it is predominantly zombies and necromancers. It is being headed up by Master Necromancer Jacques Flesh-Eater, and then he is joined by 2 returning characters, both from, I believe, round 1, Volkmar Newhouse and Laureus the Feeble. Volkmar is back in his corpse cart, and Laureus is on foot. Here is the rest of the force. It is 4 massive blocks of infantry, a mortis engine, and a Vargulf is basically all it is. So I'm trying something a bit different here, and I'm going to try and almost perfect the hammer and anvil with this one, with the zombies being the anvil. Over on the Empire's side, we have 5 characters, including 1 special named character. The army is being led by General Wolfgang Fine and his captain Lorin Gottfried. They are supported by a battle wizard Ewald Schiff, who's using the Law of Death. And then we have 2 warrior priests. We've got Priest Raymond, who is just a normal warrior priest, and Luther Huss, the prophet of Sigmar himself, who joined the fight when he heard it was brewing. And similar to how I'm going with a bit of an experimental build with the zombies, this is also a bit experimental, specifically designed to sort of hammer and anvil themselves with a massive unit of halberdiers and 2 units of knights. So the plan is for them to use these terrain that they have and just have an unbreakable core. So returning to look at the board, they won't be rolling for sides, but they'll be rolling for who takes the first turn. Sylvania have 3 charnel pits, which confer a regeneration roll on any undead within 6 inches, marked by the white circles. There's a ruin, which is dangerous terrain if you move quickly through it. In the middle are some blessed bulwarks, which were one of the 3 things chosen, and I've just realised I gave them 4. Whoops. I'm gonna have to get rid of one of these hills then, because otherwise it's a bit cheaty. See, I'll get rid of this hill up here actually. Yeah, I'll get rid of this hill. The 3 things they chose are a wood, a blessed bulwark, and a hill. So the blessed bulwark halves the initiative of any forces of destruction, such as vampire counts, who are in contact with it. These fields they're just there for aesthetics. They don't do anything. So let's roll off to see who deploys first. Red is the Empire, blue is Sylvania. It is Sylvania deploys first. But before that, let's roll the spells. All 3 are using the Law of Vampires, which means we're going to get a lot of overlap here. However, the only reason I'm not sort of topping out the number of Law of Vampire spells I can have, because there are only 6 in the deck and a total of 8 wizard levels between them, is they're all going to be taking the Invocation of Nehek, the signature spell. At least, they're going to be taking it at some point, so that leaves 5 spells. Let's start off with Jacques Flesh Eater. He is a 4th level wizard, which means he has 4 spells. The first one, Wind of Death, which is the Vortex. I think that's a pretty good one for him to have. He's the most likely to be able to cast it. Second spell is Raise Dead. Definitely one I would like him to have. Third spell is Van Hal's Dance Macabre. It's the least useful of all of the spells in the vampire lore, I think, so I will be swapping that one for Invocation of Nehek. And his final spell is Van Hal's Dance Macabre. Cool, he's stuck with it. Volkmar is a 2nd level wizard, which means he gets 2 spells. So, first one is Gaze of Nagash. I don't know that that's particularly useful. A magic missile, strength 4 hits. Yeah, no, I'll leave him with that. I think one of them should have it, so he's a good one for it because he's unlikely to be in combat. And the second one is Curse of Years, which is a shame because that's a very good one, but I'm replacing it with Invocation of Nehek. I don't know why I bothered rolling. And Laureus, also a 2nd level caster, his first one is Raise Dead. That is a duplicate, which means he gets to pick. And he cannot have any that are already in use. So that just leaves 2 spells to pick between Curse of Years and Hellish Vigor. Oh, Dance Macabre is actually better than I thought it was. I thought it was just a movement, but no, it's rolls to hit as well. Okay, that's actually not too bad. Curse of Years is tempting because of the giant halberdier unit, but I don't think that is my best bet. I think he's actually going to go for Hellish Vigor and then swap the last one, whatever it would be, for Invocation of Nehek. So I won't actually be using Curse of Years, which is probably my favourite spell from the lore, but maybe Raise Dead is also really cool. Over on this side, I have actually created custom cards for the battle prayers, because it's always really sort of tiring having to look them up. So they're all aces, apologies about that, and I can't get anything to show. So Luther actually has a 4th battle prayer. So he has access to the other 3 that Raymond does, and he also has Unbending Righteousness. Evald, however, is a 2nd level Wizard of Death. So Purple Sun. Ooh! That is perhaps the most devastating thing to field against this army, so definitely taking Purple Sun. And his second spell is also Purple Sun. I definitely shuffled that, you saw it. So he gets to pick. I think he's going to go for Soul Blight, because with Purple Sun he's got a good damaging spell, and Soul Blight gives him a good debuff as well for when combat begins. Laureus is with the Skeletons, and Jacques is with the Graveguard. So let's start off with the Skeletons, who are going to be right here in the middle. And then deployment on this side is really quite cut and dry. The 2 crossbow units are detachments of the Halberdiers, so I'm just going to deploy all 3 of them at once. With the Halberdiers in these woods, which are just ordinary woods, I pre-decided that, and the crossbows on either side. Next will be the massive unit of zombies that are going right there, and it broke slightly on the charnel pit. On this side we have Knights of Moor and Moor in a circle. I think the Knights of Moor are going to go on this side. The Graveguard are going to go here beside the zombies, so that close enough so that this unit is also within the sphere of Jacques. And then the Moor in a circle are going to go right here, just outside this fence, so they don't have to worry about passing over it. Which means that the other zombies are going to have to go here and don't give out on the charnel pit. Ah, damn it. No! I don't know how I'm doing that. I haven't clicked. Ah, hang on. I've resigned that they're going to give out like that. I don't know why they do it. Some terrain does it. I think it's just like the way the base settles on it. I don't know. Anyway, the last thing on this side is the mortar, which is going to have to go on this hill, leaving these 3 on the vampire's side. I think the mortar's engine's going to go on that flank. The Vargulf is going to go on this flank, And then Volkmar is going to sit right behind everybody there. Oh, sorry, I missed Ewald. Even so, the Empire finished deploying first. Ewald is going to go here, I think, so that he can see, but his cover doesn't really matter. They're not going to get shot at. With deployment done, we now roll to see who chooses the first turn, with the Empire getting +1 because they finished deploying first. Ooh, that brings it up to a draw, so re-roll. And the Empire takes it. And the Empire are going to take the second turn because they want these guys to get a bit closer given that they cannot shoot. So Sylvania turn 1. Everything on this side has a movement of 4 except the Vargulf, which has 8, as does the Mortis engine. And we're going to start with the zombies moving forwards. And normally undead can't march, but undead within 12 inches of the general can. As can the Vargulf, who is vampiric. So the zombies in the middle are going to march. I don't know why the base is doing this weird thing where it's at a slant. I can't fix that without bloody doing the whole thing, and I don't want to have to do that again. It's these charnel pits. I'm probably not going to use them again. They keep bugging stuff out anyway. The Graveguard are likewise going to move up and march, followed by the zombies who are going to do the same. The skeletons are also going to move up, and I actually... Oh, yeah. Does it? Yes. 4 inches gets them just within the 12-inch radius of the general in order for them to be able to march. It's very, very tight, but it is there. So they can move another 4 inches. Same with Newhouse. He's going to move 4 and then march. Basically, the entire force. This is what I always forget to do with these. I forget that they can march within range, you see. So he can march anyway, but he's not going to. He's just going to... Actually, yeah, I think he is, actually. He is going to march right up the flank, heading towards the mortar. And the Mortis engine is just going to sort of tuck in here. Oh, hang on. Don't know if you can hear that. My computer's going nuts. Are you okay? Stop that. The Mortis engine has the reliquary, which means you roll 2d6 and add the turn number, which is 1. A total of 10 with the turn. And that is the range of the reliquary. Any enemy units within that range are affected, which there aren't any. Any allied ones have +1 to their regeneration, so 10 inches is just these two. So they have +1 to their regeneration, which is cumulative with the +1 they get from the charnel pit. Magic 9. And I'm actually channeling 3 on each side because both of the warrior priests can channel as if they were wizards. So for this side, I need to remember to say that before I roll. And for the vampires, 1, giving them 10 power and 6 dispel. So the core of this army is the zombies and being able to just have cumulative bonuses upon each other. So the Mortis engine, the reason it's here is because if it is targeted by an augment, then all the things within the green range have always strikes first, which overcomes the zombies being really slow, overcomes the Graveguard, and it also completely negates the Blessed Bulwark, which halves their initiative. It doesn't matter if you always strike first. Add to that Jacques has Master of the Dead, which means, because normally zombies can go above their starting number, but no other things can. But with Jacques, skeletons can as well. So it's why I needed them to be close enough that he could hit the skeletons with Invocation, because he can just swell. If he casts like a second upcast, like a slightly upcast Invocation, then he can increase the skeletons, the zombies, and the zombies all above their starting numbers. But I think Volkmar will open up with a Gaze of Nagash against the Knights, because it's within the 24-inch range. He can see over the top because of the cart he's on. So, like, they are slightly raised because of the hill, but I think he'd be able to see them anyway. So he's going to use 3 dice, and he needs a 9 minus his level of 7, which he easily gets. Total of 14, including his level. I think they're inclined to let it through, because they've only got 6 dispel dice, and they've got a lot that's going to be coming their way still. So yeah, I think they're going to let that one through. So this does 2d6 strength 4 hit. Only 3. 3 strength 4 hits, 2 wounds, and they've got very good saves, but they still managed to fail one. So 1 inner knight dies, we have our first casualty, but otherwise that's it. I think Jacques will do Wind of Death now. So it's 15. He's going to use 5 dice. And he gets a +4. No, he's going to use 4 dice. 4 dice with a +4 because of his level. Oh, that's not a good roll. 16. Barely gets it. So I think they're going to use 5 dice. There's not really much, is it? Yeah, they don't want it there. They're going to use 5 dice to try and dispel. But with the level, that's only 14, so they don't succeed in dispelling it. Ooh. So the way this works is you place the vortex, touching the caster, and then you roll an artillery dice and multiply the result by 3. It then moves in that direction that far. So, artillery dice. It moves, times 3, so 24 inches, which is certainly far enough to go straight into that unit. Any unit passed over by the template takes d6 strength 3 hits for each rank. So I think he's going to put it there, because he would go for here or something like that. He can't reach those knights, and if he went for those, he couldn't get this massive unit of halberdiers, which is their linchpin. So he's going to go here, moving it to there, with the aim that it will stick around to continue demolishing their ranks. So this moves 24 inches this way to there. And a notable thing here is that it's not d6 per rank it goes over, it's just d6 per rank in the unit. So although it's only clipped this unit, they will take 6d6 hits. So the halberdiers and the crossbows are both hit. Let's actually do the crossbows first, because, yeah, that's going to be less devastating. 8 hits against the crossbows, as they have 2 ranks. On a 4+, so they've got a pretty good chance. 4 dead, no armor saves allowed. Not that they have any armor saves, but that is a devastating hit to the crossbows. And as they've just lost 25%, they have to immediately test panic. So I just swapped these around so that the characters Luther is there and Wolfgang is there, so that they're on the inner part of the unit. I meant to do that during deployment and forgot. But as they've not moved, it doesn't really matter, and this is the first time they're actually using it. But yes, the halberdiers are within range of Wolfgang, and because the crossbows are a detachment of the halberdiers, they can use the halberdiers' leadership, and the halberdiers can use Wolfgang's leadership. So as far as I am aware, that means that the crossbows can use Wolfgang's leadership. They're also right next to Gottfried, which means they get a reroll. So they're testing on a 9 with a reroll. They just pass. Anyway, back to the halberdiers taking 66 hits. That is a lot of ones! Oh, 12! 12 on 66, that is horrendous! Bloody hell. Like, that's shocking. I mean, that's still 9 wounds. Yeah, they perhaps should have used that last dispel dice. They only used 5. But 9 is not a quarter of the 55 models in the unit, so they do not have to test for panic. Yeah, they really should have used that last one, because what can they do with 1 dispel dice? They can't get an irresistible dispelling. They'd need to dispel something that is cast on 1 dice by not Jacques, so yeah, they really messed up. I really messed up. And I think the last 3 dice are going to go into a slightly upcast invocation by Jacques. So I need a 12 for the medium invocation. He gets a +4. Ooh! 9! That is not enough. He doesn't cast it. They kinda got lucky on that. The only shooting thing in the army is the Mortis engine can use Ghostly Howl, however it's only a range of 8, so nothing is in range. And with no combat, we go into Empire turn 1. And here, Wolfgang's He's got a little bit of a problem. He's carrying the Berserker Sword, which means he has Frenzy. So if he is able to declare a charge, he has to, unless he passes a leadership test. And as the cavalry is within range on a pretty low roll chance of actually reaching them, he has to do it unless I do a leadership, which he has a decent chance of passing. They're just aware of the Vargulf, you see, because it's right there. Oh, but the Vargulf is actually within the front arc, but if they do that, they're going to be flank charged by the zombies. Is that a problem? I kind of think it isn't. So I think they're going to charge the Vargulf. Can they? They might be crammed in a bit too tightly for, like, turning like that. You know, I technically do charges wrong. Like, I am aware of this. Technically, you're supposed to declare all of your charges before you move any of them. But that's, I don't know, I've always seen that as a bit of a weird, clunky faff. You know, because it should be like, oh, these are going to charge and these are going to charge, and then I roll to see who charges and so on. But yeah, I'd just rather just do them one at a time. Because of the way charges work, if you make the distance, which is to say the 14 inches to reach the Vargulf, and you can do it in the 90 degree, then they can actually move further than they've rolled in the charge, as long as what they rolled is the distance. That's just the way it's done. Just, I don't know why, but it is. So, they would need to roll a 7, because they have a movement of 8, they have barding, which is something I always forget about, which reduces their movement by 1, giving them a movement of 7. So, 14-inch difference, so they need to roll a 7. They have 3 dice because of Swiss ride. Sorry I'm going into this so deeply. 10 inches, because they use the 2 highest, that is enough. So, although they are probably going to be moving further than that 10 inch, they are going to go to there, and then pivot the 90 degrees that they can, and then charge in. They will have to take a dangerous terrain, because of this pivot here, is them technically charging over this fence. So that's just the end 2, because it's clipping it there. And then these ones are, of course, there. So it's actually going to be the entire back rank because of where they end up here. So 7 of them have to take dangerous terrain, in which all but 1 pass. So 1 knight gets killed charging over a fence, which is an undignified way for a knight of inner circle knight of more to go. But they do complete the charge. They were predominantly in the flank, so they charged the Vargulf in the flank. And although that would normally give them an extra starting combat resolution, the Vargulf has, I think it's Bestial Fury, which means he is not counted as having a flank, because he is just a raving mad vampire monster. The halberdiers are going to move forward a bit. Do they want to move forward? I don't know that they do. I kind of want to get them out of the vortex, but I also don't know that there is anywhere they can go that would be safe in the vortex, because they don't want to just move so far forward that they get charged. So, yeah, I think they're going to have to... I think they're going to move an inch forward. Don't worry that they've lifted up, it's just because of the vortex. But yeah, they've moved an inch forward so that they are more likely to be charged than the crossbows. And then Luther and his Knights of More are going to rotate to there. And that's all they're doing in preparation for this pincer move, which is sort of stumbling because they saw a Vargulf to attack. Magic. 4. Channeling Empire. 1. Channeling Vampire. None. 5 power dice, 3 dispel. I kind of think I should just use Purple Sun. Just throw a vortex right back at them. This is the perfect time to do it before combat, so yeah, let's try it. Sure, this is nuts. It's very unlikely a level 2 wizard will be able to get the 25 to upcast, so he's just going to cast Purple Sun of Purple Sun on 5 dice. He needs 15, gets 18 total, to which Jacques responds, Dispel Scroll. They'd be very unlikely to dispel it on 3 dice, so he's just going to Dispel Scroll. He's gone. It's a one-use item, but it means that they do not have to worry about that vortex today. Right now. This turn. Shooting. This is where this army will hopefully excel. So we've got a mortar and 2 loads of crossbows. Let's start off with the mortar. Need to be aware of its minimum range, but for now it is just going to aim directly at Jacques, see what it can do to take out their general. It's going to aim right there, 3rd rank of that unit, and it scatters 10 inches that way, which may take it into no man's land. It, just does, but it does. Just explosion of bones as it hits one of the charnel pits. And in this case, the bulwark is actually working against them. It's technically giving them cover because of them being on the far side of it. None of them would be in short range anyway, so they may as well just go for the long range and go for the skeletons over there. Actually, I think I'm going to have both units shoot at the skeletons, so that's 16 crossbows. Only 4 hits, that's really poor. 3 wounds though. They do get an armor save, which one of them passes. Only 2 skeletons die. Again, collapse, break. Let's say break. And then combat, we have the Inner Knights versus the Vargulf. But first of all, impact hits because of my homebrew cavalry impact rule. The cavalry inflicts impact hits, which is the strength of the mount, +1 for each full rank. So that's 3 + 1 for a total of 4. They would have aligned like so. I should have done that before, but yes, this way 3 of them are in contact, so therefore he is hit by 3 impact hits. Low chance to wound, but still manages to get 2 wounds. It doesn't have any armor, but it does have regeneration. So it can try. It saves one, fails the other. I don't know whether he does get his regeneration, because the Inner Knights are wielding they have the Banner of Eternal Flame, which means they have flaming attacks. I cannot find whether this affects impact hits. I think they actually do, because it has a couple of things which it says are not affected, like shooting and close combat attacks are both affected, but attacks made with magic weapons are not. Neither are spells. It doesn't mention impact hits not being affected, so I think they do have flaming impact hits, in which case the Vargulf gets no save, because flaming attacks just completely destroy regeneration. And if it is wounded by something with flaming attacks, it loses regeneration for the remainder of the phase. So the Vargulf just immediately loses half its wounds before combat has even started. Fine will then make way so that he can take part in the combat, and has the highest initiative. He has 3 attacks +1 for his frenzy. Only 1 hit. He is, however, equipped with a lance, so he gets +2 strength, which is not enough. I'm fairly sure the Vargulf is dead. He's just not going to be able to survive. Like, he's only got 2 wounds. He's not going to be able to survive the remainder of the unit. So I think he's going to direct all 5 of his attacks against Fine. Just try and just savage this person. Oh, sorry. Before I roll these, I mean, it didn't matter with that because nothing came of it, but the Vargulf has terror, which means they have to roll for fear. So they're testing on a 9, which they pass. Never mind, carry on. So the Vargulf has 5 attacks, all going for Fine. 2 hit, so he's not going to kill him. Oh wait, he has hatred. The Vargulf has hatred, which means he re-rolls his to hit. So 2 more. So he needs 4 wounds in order to kill him. Sorry, 3 wounds in order to kill him. He got 4. I didn't buy barding for the general. So he only has a 4+ save, which he saves 3 of them. He only takes 1 wound from the Vargulf. He got incredibly lucky. So he's now down to 2 wounds. And the rest of the unit is now going to attack and probably kill the Vargulf, including the champion. That's 6 attacks, 5 hit. They only need 2 of these to wound. Oh, but only 1 does. He gets no regeneration because he's still overcoming it, but he survives. The Vargulf is alive. Normally it would get a stomp attack, or a thunder stomp attack rather, but you do not get that against cavalry. Personally, I think Stomp you shouldn't get against cavalry, but Thunder Stomp should, because the things with Thunder Stomp are usually monsters, and they could probably stamp on a horse. Horrible image, but you know. But yeah, they don't get it against cavalry, so we go into resolution. They have a banner, and they have 1 rank, so they win the combat by 5. The Vargulf is unbreakable, but unstable, meaning for each point they lose the combat, they lose a wound. So the Vargulf, despite surviving the combat itself, dies to combat resolution. That is a shame. And then the knights are going to reform to face the zombies. I will admit, when I sent the Vargulf down that edge, I did not predict that they'd be able to charge him. I thought that he was just going to slip straight past them. Into Sylvania Turn 2. And I've remembered to do it first. This time, the Mortis engine, 2d6 plus the turn for the reliquary. 6 plus 2, 8 inches. Not enough to hit any enemies, but both of these gain +1 regeneration. And by the way, this is another case where they just happened to have something that countered. Like, when I built this army, I didn't count on it relying on regeneration as much as it is with the charnel pits and stuff. So them having a banner which negates regeneration, that's just a happy coincidence on their part. But obviously the zombies are going to charge, they're within the minimum range, so they are going to just move in. I would be tempted to do a flee reaction, but yeah, like if they did flee, they'd probably hit the mortar, causing a panic, and also they would probably end up fleeing off the board because the unit is too big to fit. So it's better that they get charged by the zombies than risk fleeing off the board. The Graveguard are going to move up 4 inches. Ooh, actually, move them 3. Because the way the hammer and anvil strategy works, you see, is you have an anvil, which is a really hard to kill unit that bogs everything down, and then you hit it with a you hit the unit with a hammer, which is like the Graveguard. So the Vargulf was also a hammer. He's gone now. That leaves me with just the Graveguard and the Mortis engine as hammers. So I kind of think I need to swing the Graveguard round to kill the knights, because they're not going to be able to move from this combat. They are stuck there now. So yeah, I'm going to come back to the Graveguard. They've only moved 3 inches. I'm going to have the zombies move forward 4, and then march another 4. You can just move straight over obstacles without concern. Actually, I think when they charged, they would have moved over this way a bit, just so that they've got as many models as possible in contact. Yeah, on second thoughts, I think it's crazy to try and swing this unit round. I'm going to have to wait another turn because of the zombies being in the way, so I think I'm just going to move up. So I'm going to move them the last 5 inches that they can because of the march. Have Volkmar follow as well, 4 inches to get into range and then marching. The skeletons I'm going to move up the 4 inches. Again, they're within marching range, but I don't think I'm going to move them any further forward. And this is because I don't want them to get flank charged by the Knights of Moor. So instead, if I have the Mortis engine sort of creep along there, so that can't be charged either, and then the Knights basically have to front charge the skeletons or flank charge the zombies. So they could end up getting like a pincer here, but they can't do a full-on smashing into the side of the whole force. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to move the vortex, which is called a Vor6. I'm just going to change that. Yeah, I forgot to move the vortex at the end of their magic phase. I will do that now, and I'm going to kick myself if crossbowmen die, which they are probably going to do, because then they got shots that they shouldn't have got. But, oh well, yeah, that's on me for forgetting it. So, it moves. Oh, never mind. All's well that the vortex is gone. Rolling a misfire on the artillery dice just gets rid of the vortex immediately. Magic. 8. Channeling Empire. 1. Channeling Vampire. None. 8 power to 7 dispel dice. There are so many spells I want to cast. I love the lore of vampires. Just like the Wind of Death, Raise Dead, Invocation of Nehek. There are so many really cool things you can do with it. Let's start off with Jacques casting Dance Macabre on the zombies, which would let them re-roll. He's going to use 2 dice. He's a level 4, which means he needs a 2. Easily casts it. Total of 12. All it does is it's going to let the zombies re-roll to hit, so that isn't a big issue, so I think they're going to let that pass. Next, Jacques is going to do a slightly upcast invocation, so he needs a 12, and he's going to use 3 dice. Ooh, not bad. Total of 15. I think they're going to try and dispel that one because they're running out of dice to use. So they're going to use 4 to try and dispel. They need to beat 15, minus 2 for their level. They get a 16. That is enough. And then finally, an upcast Raise Dead. He needs a 14. And he's only got 3 dice, but he's got plus 4. Oh, he gets it. 17. So their only chance of dispelling is either a triple 6, well, a double 6. They need an irresistible dispelling here, which they don't get. So although they do have a dispel scroll as well, they didn't want to use it there, because Raise Dead, yeah, it's not the most world-ending thing. You know, another Vortex or something, that could be really bad, or a Clutch Heal, but Raise Dead is unlikely to tip the balance. So because it's upcast, it summons skeletons instead of zombies, which summons a 2d6 plus 3. And I've realised I should have cast that before Invocation, but oh well, Invocation didn't pass. So 7 plus 3, so 10 skeletons appear. And these appear anywhere within 18 inches, and he's going to put them right there. For 2 reasons. Like, the other place he could have put them was here. He's putting them there for 2 reasons. One, if the knights somehow manage to defeat the zombies this turn, which they almost certainly will not, this way they can't reform and then just charge straight into the Graveguard. The other thing is that, assuming they don't defeat the zombies, they can charge in the flank and help pin them down and or kill them. So basically win-win no matter what happens to the zombies. No shooting as they're still out of range for Ghostly Howl, so we go into the zombies versus the knights. Zombies have always strikes last, which means the knights all go first. I forgot to do horse attacks against the Vargulf. Oh well, he died anyway. So 4 attacks from Fine, 3 hit. Only 1 wound. Forgot to test for fear. Testing on a 9. Passes. Carry on. 10 knight attacks. 7 hit. 6 wound. 5 horse attacks. 4 hit. 2 wound. And the zombies actually get 21 attacks back because they have 7 in contact, they get a row of support, and because they are a horde, 10 across, they get an additional row. So 21 attacks, re-rolling to hit. 4. 10 total. 3 more from re-roll, 13. 6 wounds. All but 1 saved, so 1 dead. They each get 1 for the banner, they get 1 for rank, they get 2 for rank, and the Inner Circle win by 6. So 6 more, due to unstable, die off. So in total they lost, 15 zombies in exchange for 1 knight? But to be honest, this is like the least lucky they've been with Invocation, probably because only Jacques is the one trying to cast it. But when I get a couple of them casting Invocation regularly, which I'm really going to lean into after this, the zombies are untouchable, so I think that's why they've depleted so much. Empire turn 2. Right, I really don't know what to do here. Like, I don't know who to charge with the knights. They probably do have to charge, and they're probably best off charging the skeletons. 11 is what they need, so a 4, which is really easy to roll. Yeah, let's do that. They get it. Ooh, and they are predominantly in the flank, but they can't actually reach the flank, so they're going to have to hit the front. So they just turn and charge into the front like that. However, that has left the halberdiers sort of unable to move. Frankly, with the crossbows flanking them so closely, they couldn't pivot at all anyway, so they could only go out forwards. But I think I will move them up a little bit. Magic. 4. Channeling Empire. Channeling Vampire. 1. 4 dice apiece. Avold is going to cast Soul Blight against the zombies, and for that he needs a 9, -2 for his level, so a 7. He's going to try and cast it on 2 dice. I don't know if he can. He can't, never mind. The thinking was if they could take out the zombies, rally, and then sort of move through the line with their best unit. But the reason I didn't put more into that is I want to do some battle prayers. So we've got Luther Huss, who is a warrior priest, couldn't remember the term. So he has access to the battle prayers, and what I decided in a previous one is that they can cast multiple battle prayers per turn. They can only cast them 1 each, but they can cast multiple. And Luther is going to try and cast Hammer of Sigma. He needs a 3, which he gets with a total of 7. And Volkmar is going to try and dispel that with all 4 of his dice, so good luck getting it through. Yeah, it's gone. Maybe I would have been better putting everything into a single spell, and that way it would have been more likely to resist. I thought if I could get like a load of different spells, that would make it hard, but if you fail one spell, because of the cost of dice and so on, it makes it so that you're less likely to get other spells through in the same phase, because they have all their dispel dice. Same with an Irresistible Force, actually, but, you know, that's good and bad in different ways. Shooting, we need to make sure that they are beyond the 12, yes. So another mortar strike going here, same place as before. Rolling scatter, misfire. And it would have been a direct hit as well. The result is 1, destroyed. The gun explodes. Oh well, easy come, easy explode. And now the crossbow can't both shoot at the same thing. These 6 are going to shoot at the mortis engine, which is within short range for all except the guy at the back. 1 hit, good job. Yep, just 1 hit in total. No wound. Ah, my mistake. I was just double checking the rules about obstacles, like the fence here. It only counts as cover if something is actually against it, otherwise it's just line of sight rules. So yeah, fair enough, they can shoot at the Graveguard, so all 10 are going to do so at short range. 9 hits, that's more like it. 6 wounds. 1 save. Yeah, they're not within range of a charnel pit, so that's 5 dead. That is pretty good shooting. Combat, we will do this one first. Luther is going to challenge, which will be accepted by the Skeleton Champion. Because Luther is wielding a great weapon, the skeleton goes first. 1 hit. 1 wound. Passes his save. Luther's 2 attacks. He also has Hatred from Righteous Fury, so he can re-roll his miss, which still misses, so still only 1. +2 strength from his great weapon, which is a kill with no chance of armor. And then the Knights strike at the same time as Laureus. So I'll do Laureus first. Miss. 7 Knights are going to hit the skeletons, and the champion and the one behind him are actually going to hit Laureus himself. 4 hits. Reroll the 3 because they get hatred as well, so 1 more. They all have lances, giving them +2 strength on the charge. So 5 wounds, no armor. I forgot to roll fear. 8. Yeah, they pass. I need to remember that because it's like their whole bloody thing. They've got terrible weapon skill because they're hoping that eventually someone will fail a fear test. 3 attacks against Laureus, 3 hit. Only 2 wound, but with no armor, that is enough to kill him. He is just dead. Yeah, see, that's why I don't put wizards in units. Because I thought, oh, I'll try it this time. But yeah, it just doesn't work. It's much better when they're just isolated and nearby. And then the 4 horses that were not involved in the challenge. 4 hit, no wounds. So they get 1 each for the banner. They have 3 ranks. They have 2 ranks. I forgot to do impact hits. So they have 5 impact hits against the unit at strength 5 because they have 2 full ranks. 4 more wounds. So they lose the combat by 12. Yikes. So that's 2 more ranks gone and 2 more. Oh, that is horrendously bad. And then over here, Wolfgang against the zombies. Again, they all strike first. Remember to test for fear. They pass. Finds attacks. 4 hit. 4 wound. 10 knight attacks. 6 hit. 3 wound. 5 horse attacks, 4 hit. 2 wound. That's pretty devastating. 14 zombie attacks back. 4 hit. They still have their reroll for the other 10. 3 more. 3 wound. Wow, 2 fails. 2 1s and a 2. But even with that, they have 1 for the banner, 1 for the banner, 1 for the rank, 1 for the rank. They lose by 7. Leaving just 10 zombies in the unit. I really should have been buffing them more. I should have been bloody invocating. This is what happens when you don't. Ooh, I forgot about the Mortis engine. All of the skeletons had a 6+ regeneration save from the Mortis engine, as did Laureus. I can't remember exactly how many. Is that what it was? Did I begin to... I may have begun to like reduce this one. So taking off the 3 for the 2 ranks and the banner, that would mean 10 skeletons died and Laureus. 7 skeletons, the champion and Laureus. So 7 skeletons. 2 would be alive, and that would be 2 fewer who would have died from unstable. The champion against Luther still fails, and both of Laureus's wounds still fail. Okay, well that's 4 skeletons who should have been alive that I have remembered, and therefore actually they just get back up again because they're skeletons, and they do that. As we go into Sylvania, turn 3. I forgot about one of the things for the Mortis engine. It has an upgrade I purchased called Blasphemous Tome, which gives a buff to any spellcasters using the Law of Vampires within 12 inches. That's what the green circle is. I've now added that. It would only have affected Laureus, and I don't think he cast that many spells so far, so yeah, it's probably okay. First, the skeletons are going to charge into the flank of the knights. They can easily do that. Obviously, it's within their minimum. And I think the zombies are going to charge into the Knights of Moor. I was really on the fence about this. Like, they're clearly going to get flank charged. But if the knights smash through here, they'll hit the Mortis engine next. And yeah, things are going to go very, very bad. So instead, I'm going to do this. Just a complete, let's see where, yeah, so they were like there, and it's, I guess, to there, and they're also obviously within minimum, you know, they were right next to them, so I'll just shuffle them in like that. So they were within the front arc, and that's all that was required in order to do the charge. So in both these cases, the vampires are starting at a 2 for the charge and for it being in the flank. I also think I will rotate this 2, 3, 4. Are they within 8 inches? They are not, so they can march. They are... Ooh. Oh no, this is my general. I thought that was my general. Yeah, this is the vampire general, this blue circle. So they can then march 3 to there. Rotate an extra 1 and then march 3. Yeah, they can't... Oh, yes, that is now over the skeletons. That's because of the 6-inch range on the always strikes first that they can get, that they can give if affected by an augment spell. So I really need some augment spells to get through this turn. It's shocking how poorly the vampires have done in the magic phase up to now. And looking at this, the Graveguard are 9 inches away from the crossbows. So they'd need a 5 to charge. They would get stand and shot, but I think that is definitely worth doing. So they are going to charge, and I need a 5, which I get. So the crossbows are going to immediately stand and shoot. They are within short range, I believe all of them. Yes, they are. They do suffer a -1 penalty for standing and shooting, resulting in 6 hits still. 3 wounds. No armor saves. So that's 3 Graveguard taken down. And I forgot to roll for the Mortis Engine Reliquary. Let's do that now. So 2d6 plus 3 for the turn. So a total of 9 inches is the range of its Dark Aura. That is not enough to hit any of them. It's enough to hit these ones, obviously. And it's going to hit both of those because I believe it is just a constant thing. Oh no, that were within range of the start. I think the zombies still were because they were like there, weren't they? So yeah, they were definitely still within range, but that is it. So it's just these 3. So that means both of these 2 units have a 6+ regeneration for this turn. And all enemy units within range take d6 hits at the strength of the turn number, which is 3. So the knights take 5 strength 3 hits. Decent chance of wounding, but 1 wound, but they do get their amazing armor save, which they pass. They complete the charge against the crossbows, and so they go there. When I had this, because like you may be thinking, wow, this setup here has worked terribly. I guess I didn't picture the knights charging in and therefore being a beacon for being charged themselves and cutting off the halberdiers. Like, the idea of this setup was the halberdiers were the only thing that they could move towards to charge. And as they did, they'd then get support fired by both crossbows, because they're the detachments they can shoot when the halberdiers are charged. But the knights were then going to sort of hit in the flanks. The issue was the vampires had such a wide frontage. They had this entire area basically stopping at the ruin. And it just meant that a single unit to focus on was just not enough. And I guess I didn't plan for that. But I did say at the beginning that both of these are quite experimental builds, or experimental army lists, with like the zombie focus, which I do personally enjoy, but isn't always a winner, compared to the very, very solid anvil and very heavy hammer that I had here. And like, the knights are doing well. They may still completely dominate in both of these fights, particularly this one where it's better knights against weaker things, but we will see. The zombies are still within 18 inches, so if Jacques did a maximum upcast invocation, he could still hit them, which he is probably going to have to do. Sorry, I only rolled 1 dice for magic. 4 and 2, 6. I think that's part of it, that they've had such terrible magic phases. They've not really had anything that was astounding, so they can't pull off lots of different spells. Maybe their first one was probably their best. Anyway, channeling 3 for the Empire. Channeling 3 for the Vampire. No. Oh, I don't think I can pull off both the spells. I want to on 6 dice. It's just not enough. Because Jacques needs to do a max upcast invocation in order to heal these, because he's moved so far away. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to learn from before and use all of the dice on a single spell just to guarantee it goes through. Like, if the invocation doesn't go through this turn, it could be over. Or, you know, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but 6 dice on a max upcast invocation by Jacques, so he gets a +4 for his level. Irresistible. Damn it. Well, that's really bad, but at least he does get the spell through, as he needed it. So all undead within 18 inches regain d6 plus 4 wounds, because he's a level 4 wizard. Zombies gain an additional d6, of these two. You roll individually for each unit, apparently, which it doesn't say on this card, but it does say in the actual rules. So I will start at the bottom and work my way up, because I'm fairly sure that is literally everything on the board. Zombies at the bottom, 2d6 plus 4, 12. That is a much-needed replenishment. Skeletons. And normally skeletons can't go above their starting size, so because this started as a unit of 10, it couldn't go higher. However, Jacques has Master of the Dead, which means he can raise skeletons past their starting size. D6 plus 4 skeletons, 6 more. So this combat's looking a bit healthier, but they're still probably going to lose. Graveguard. 10, which may be all of the ones they've lost. Yeah, they've lost a total of 8, so they cannot go above their starting size, so they get all 8 of their guys back, including the ones that were literally just shot. So that really sucks for the crossbowmen. The zombies, 2d6 plus 4, that's 10. I don't know that I can fit them, because if you can't fit them and the Graveguard are in the way, then additional ones are lost. So I think I can fit 5 more. Volkmar hasn't lost any. And the skeletons, again, can be increased above their starting size if required. Only 5, that's poor. So that's looking a bit healthier. It really sucks that that's the first time they've actually got that spell off this game, I think. So, yeah, this flank has suffered badly for that. But up here, we may be about to see a massacre, especially as the Corpse Cart's Vigor Mortis happens now. If targeted by an augment, which it is, because it was within the bubble of 18 inches, all friendly undead within 6 inches have always strikes first. And the skeletons are in that, as are the zombies, so both of these units are striking before the knights. Now I'm dreading the result of this, but time to work out the miscast. 9. Magical feedback. The wizard and every model on the same side that can generate power or dispel suffers a strength 6 hit. That isn't too bad, but that does mean both Volkmar and Jacques take a strength 6 hit. Jacques, wounded, and what's his face? Volkmar, wounded. The corpse card actually has regeneration, so we can try and save that one, which it does. So the only wound is taken by Jacques. Am I saying that name wrong? Is it Jacques? It's probably Jacques, isn't it? Not Jacques. You know, because it's a French name, I believe. Yep, I looked up pronunciation, it's Jacques. So apologies there for anyone named Jacques, whose name I've been mispronouncing this entire time. Anyway, shooting, and the Mortis engine can actually do its ghostly howl. Yay! Because it's a really good shooting attack, but I rarely get to use it. I checked the FAQ, and it can be fired into a combat that the Mortis engine is not part of, because it isn't a shooting attack in the normal way. So, the way Ghostly Howl works is you target an enemy unit within 8 inches, which they are. You then roll 2d6 plus 2, and you compare that to the target unit's leadership, which is 8. For each point it exceeds by, they suffer a wound. No armor saves allowed. So you can see why it is really, really good. So 2d6 plus 2, 6 plus 2 is 8. 8. So no wounds, never mind. Yeah, it's a shame that they had Luther in the unit. If they didn't, they would have, only lost one guy, but okay. Now we have 3 combats to do. I feel like this one is going to go the worst, but it's also the one with their general. Yeah, let's do this one, and then I'll make myself feel better by killing some crossbowmen. The skeletons are very slow, and these zombies still have always strikes last, so all of the knights strike first. Finds attacks, 3 hit, only 1 wound. 8 knight attacks against zombies, only 3 hit, only 1 wound. 3 knights against skeletons, 3 hit, 2 wound. I just double checked, and skeletons do not get spears by default, which means they're equipped with hand weapons and shields. Armor, both fail, and parry save because of the shields. 1 saved, so only 1 wound. 5 horses against zombies, 4, 2 wound, 2 horses against skeletons, 1, no wound. So overall they got 5 wounds, which is really quite poor. And considering they are already at 2, if they can get 3 wounds, they may stand a chance here. 14 zombies against the knights. 5. Only 1 wound. Saved. 10 skeletons. 7. 5 wounds. 3 saved, 2 dead. They have a banner on each side. The undead get 2 ranks, and they get no ranks because they lost 1 too many people. So the undead actually win the fight. So they take a break test on Fine's leadership of 9, but because of Hold Your Ground, they roll 3 dice and use the highest 2. The lowest 2, which is a total of 3. So yep, they hold, but this could be the turning point, because these are good in protracted combat. And yeah, that went well for them, for the undead, that is. Sorry, I have a habit of saying them when it's not clear who I'm referring to, because I'm them and them, and, Anyway, let's do this massive scrum up here. And unlike the other one, all of the undead go first because they have always strikes first. So first of all, 30 zombie attacks. Oh, I forgot to test for fear down here. I completely forgot. This is going to be awkward if they fail. Okay, they failed. Okay. Oh god, am I going to have to just redo the combat? because, yeah, like, the difference that makes is that all of the knights are striking at weapon skill 1, which means they hit on a 4+ rather than a 3+, which isn't much of a difference, but it affects one of Fine's attacks, one of the knights. Yeah, I should probably re-roll these. I never know whether to re-roll when I notice it after the case. Sometimes it's too late to have an effect, but here, I don't know, I've just done the combat, and the rolls are right here, so yeah. I think I'm going to redo these rolls, because it's such a linchpin part of the undead, and I always seem to forget that they have it. Okay, I've gone through and checked the numbers. Took way longer than it bloody should have, but anyway. These are the number of hits that they actually got with their reduced weapon skill. These are the number of wounds they actually they inflicted overall. So I'm going to re-roll, and as always with this, I never let them exceed the number of wounds they got originally, so that the side that had the bad rule isn't penalized for redoing it. So, starting off with Fine versus the zombie. Got 2 wounds anyway, nothing needs changing. Knights versus the zombies. Actually got 2 fails, so that's 1 zombie alive again. Knights against skeletons. 1 wound, no change. And horses versus zombies, no wounds, 2 more zombies alive. So yeah, let me know what you think about me doing this sort of thing. Like, this one felt faffier than usual, just because it was quite a complex combat, and re-adding all of this stuff was tricky. So with the recount, they got 3 wounds fewer, which means they were testing on a -4. They still rolled a 3, so they're still fine on that, but yeah, it had a slight effect on this, and it could potentially have tipped it over so that they completely lost. But anyway, apologies about that. Back to this combat. As I was saying, 30 zombies attacking the knights. 9 of them can only attack the champion, because that's the only one that they're touching. And it's 3 ranks because 1 for support, 1 for horde. Fear, I remembered this time, testing on 8. They fail. Are they within their range? They are within range of their battle standard bearer, so they can re-roll it. And they pass this time because they needed an 8. 9 zombie attacks against the champion. 4 wounds. All 4 saved. 21 against the rest of the unit. 2, 4 total. That's abysmal. 1 wound. Shocking. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 30 zombies couldn't get to them because of their armor. The skeletons have spears, so they can fight in 3 ranks. So 15 skeletons. 6. 2 wound. Both fail. Okay. So that is 2 knights gone. Frankly, a pitiful display. 7 knights against skeletons. 4. 3 wound. 2 were saved, including the champion. 4 attacks against zombies, 2 hit. No wound. 4 horses against skeletons. 4 hit. 1 wound. Not saved. 3 horse against zombies. 2. No wound. Overall, that was a shockingly bad combat. They got 2 wounds. Against all of this, they got 2 wounds. Against skeletons, not even against the bloody zombies. They have a banner on each side. They get 3 ranks. They get 1 rank, which they don't get because they are disrupted. Which actually... No, they didn't get any ranks. Never mind. Yeah, so the knights lose by 5. Because they don't have hatred, because that's only for the first round of combat. Wow. Like, I thought they were screwed when they got so few wounds, but yeah, the knights just did nothing. Luther probably should have used his ability. Maybe he'll use that next turn if he survives. But yeah, they're testing on a -5 with a reroll. So they're testing on a 3. Because Luther has 8. So they fail the first one and the reroll. They fail as well. Oh, what? Is Luther Huss going to flee off the board? Oh, okay. Yeah, so they have swift stride, so they flee 3d6 and you take away the lowest, so they flee 10 inches. They flee from the enemy with the most ranks, which would be the zombies. So that has actually saved them from fleeing through the halberdiers and almost certainly off the board. But that means they could potentially be run down by the skeletons because they're considerably closer. So the skeletons are pursuing 10 inches. So we're going to have to see because, yeah, they might be close enough. So 10 inches puts them there. And that is easily within 10 inches of the skeletons. Oh no. Huh. Okay, that's not how I thought the rules were worded. Weird. In a situation where, like, the side rolls... This is sort of like the flip of the weird charging movement rules and stuff that I was talking about before, is that if you roll to outrun the opponent, even if due to where you, like the direction of flight, you are still caught, then the pursuer stops and doesn't catch them. That is really odd. I guess it's a case of, like, once the roll is decided, no quirk of the board can change the roll, if that makes sense, which is similar to how when you're charging, if you are within range, you complete the charge, you know? In this case, the skeletons couldn't anyway because they have to pivot on the spot and then move. They can't because they're blocked. The zombies also can't because they're blocked. So they actually do get away scot-free because neither of the units can actually pursue them. So yeah, I think they're all going to have to stay where they are because it is such a tight scrum here, these 3 units. Nothing can move. But, and I've remembered it this time, they lose their standard bearer for breaking from combat. And I should have measured this before, 7.2 inches along here, which means they were there. So they are definitely within 6 inches. The halberdiers are going to have to test to see if they panic. Testing on Gottfried's 8, which they get. They did have a reroll as well. And now the Graveguard and Jacques killing the crossbowman. Sorry, fighting the crossbowman. Getting ahead of myself. All of the participants have an initiative of 3, so they all strike at the same time. And I think 4 crossbows are going to direct their attacks at Jacques. Oh, but fear first, of course. And the Graveguard are carrying the Screaming Banner, which means enemies that take a fear test in combat with them have to roll 3 dice and get rid of the lowest. So they need a 7. Getting rid of one of the ones, it's still a 5. 4 crossbows against Jacques. 2 hit. No wound. That could have been really bad. 6 against the Graveguard. 3 hit. 3 wound. 1 saved. And I forgot, sorry, the Graveguards are carrying great weapons, so they actually go last. Jacques' attack? Miss. With the champion 10 Graveguard attacks, only 2 hit. They have killing blows, so the 6 is just an instant kill, but they're also not wearing any armor, so the 4 is a kill as well. The Graveguard have a banner and 3 ranks, which means they win the combat by 5. So the crossbows are testing on a double 1, with a reroll. Oh no, because they can use the leadership from this, they're testing on a 3 with a reroll. Fail and fail. So they flee 7 and are pursued 11. So the crossbows are run down. That combat was harder than it needed to be. The halberdiers have already taken a panic test this phase, so they don't need to take another. However, Evald does. Testing on a 7. Wow, double 1. Pass. And the Graveguard charged through to there, I believe, and the zombie came with them. I feel that turn was trickier than it needed to be, but we go into Empire turn 3. Right, I see the issue now with deploying them in the woods. Frankly, I think that was a massive tactical blunder, particularly as it was one of the terrain choices that they picked. Because it means, normally it would give them cover from shooting, but of course the only shooting is unaffected by cover, so all it does is it means they're going to have to take dangerous terrain if they choose to charge. I think it's worth it, because if they can pin down the zombies from the side, then they can create a big stop in the middle of the board. So they are going to charge, and they're within the minimum, but oh bloody hell, everybody's going to have to take dangerous terrain. Frankly, I'd say the only 4 who don't, are these 3, including Priest Raymond, and Gottfried at the far end. All the rest are, like, close enough. So by my count, that is 41 ordinary halberdiers and the champion. This could have been a terrible mistake that is going to cost them badly. Champion first, he's fine. And then 41 more. 2, 7, 9, bloody hell, 11. 11 of them just died to bloody dangerous terrain. Oh god, it was such a mistake to put them in the woods. It seemed like a good idea at the time. They're just bloody lucky that isn't a quarter, because they would actually have to take a panic test from charging through woods and dying horribly. God, that was such a mistake. Oh, I mean, frankly, that was an insanely high chance. You know, like, on a 6, there should have been 7, not 11. Let's see if this unit rallies. So it's using Luther's 8. They do. They are just going to turn around where they are in preparation to rejoin the fight as the hammer they were always intended to be. Also, it's arguable that they crossed the ruin here. I thought I'd allow it that they didn't, but just wanted to let you know I did notice this. I think Ewald is going to move over in this direction, away from all of the marching skeletons. Magic. 6. Channeling 3 for the Empire. No, channeling only 2 for the vampires. 1. Did I channel 3 last turn? I may have channeled 3 for the vampires, forgetting that Laureus was dead. I could do something with Priest Raymond. He is now in combat, but he's only against zombies and they're flanking them, so they're not in any real danger this turn. But what I can do is have Ewald use the Purple Sun at full power, trying to take out Jacques. Like, this can't possibly go wrong. Do it! Not irresistible. If I'd remembered, I would have said it was higher power, but I think it's too late now, because I've calculated the result. And it's a 26, so he would have just managed to upcast it. But I didn't say it before, so it's just going to be the lower one. So he's going to go straight for Jacques. And you roll an artillery dice and multiply it by 3. 10. Any model touched by this has to pass an initiative test or be slain, and it's going straight through here. So it starts there and it goes 30 in this direction. So how many is it hitting? Yeah, that roll actually takes it off the board completely, but it hits 22, including the champion and Jacques. They both get a lookout, sir, and as they're both in the unit, it's a 2+. So champion is saved. Jacques is saved. So it's 22 ordinary graveguard. Good luck to them. 5 dead. 12 dead. That is a decent chunk of the unit, but I feel has not massively diminished their threat. You know, being behind the lines like this next to a severely depleted halberdiers, that has not done as much as I thought it would. Shooting, we only have these crossbows left who are going to go for the mortis engine. And, one of them is just at long range, but the other 5 are short. 3. Just 3. No wounds. It was a bit of a long shot because it's a bit tough, but it's also, you know, they're the best chance at damaging it now. Combat, let's do these zombies. The zombies are actually still affected by Vigor Mortis until the start of the vampire magic phase, so they have always strikes first. Only 5 zombies can actually fight though because you can't support flankwards. One of them can only attack Raymond, but 4 are going for the halberdiers. Fear on 8. Pass. 0 zombie hits, but 1 against Raymond. No wound. Gottfried will make way so that he can fight. Oh, they didn't need to take a fear test. Sorry, I forgot that Gottfried has the Wailing Banner, which gives them terror, which means they are immune to fear. Gottfried's attacks. 2 hit. 2 wound. They still have regeneration from the Mortis engine, but none. 13 halberdier attacks. 12. +1 strength from the halberd. 10 wounds. 1 regenerated. 2 from Raymond. 1 hit. Oh damn, sorry, they have hatred. All of them get to reroll their misses. Still a miss from Raymond. A wound. Not regened. Gottfried's miss. Hit. Wound. Not regen. Halberdier miss. Hit. Wound. Regened. So overall, they had 15 wounds. They get 1 for their banner, 1 for the battle standard. They get 1 for the banner. They have 2 ranks. They have 3 ranks. Although they're a massive unit, this unit is bigger, so these are not disrupted. But the zombies still lose by 15. So they lose that whole rank and then 3 more. They are going to try and reform from defeat, and although they are unbreakable, they do still have to roll this test, but it is done on their unmodified leadership. And as they're within range of Jacques, they use his 8 and pass. So they are reforming to there to bring as many into contact as possible. And while I was tempted to not have them sort of fully face it so that these skeletons could fit in, I'm worried about the knights. And I've got the Graveguard here, so I don't need to. And now this fight. Fine. 3 hit. 2 wound. 8 knights against zombies. Fear. Bloody fear. They just pass, because he has a 9. Sorry, there were 6 hits from the knights. 5 wound. 5 horses against zombies. 3. 2 wound. 1 knight against skeletons. Hit. Wound. No save. No parry. Now that is more like it for the knights. 9 zombies. 2. 1 wound. Saved. 10 skeletons. 4. 2 wound. Both saved. And I forgot to do it, so 1 horse against skeletons. Hit. Wound. Saved. Okay, yeah, that was considerably more devastating. Banner. 1 rank. No rank. Yeah, the undead lose by 8. And of course they lose 8 from each unit. I'm running out of space to put these things. So this is now looking incredibly ropey for the undead. As we go into Sylvania, turn 4. The Reliquary, it is turn 4. So, oh wow, total range of 7. That's pretty poor. But that is enough to hit these knights. These skeletons and nothing else. So the knights take 1. What is it with this Reliquary this turn? 1 strength 4 hit. It's a wound, and they pass. And these skeletons have 6+ regeneration. This may be a gamble, but I think the skeletons are going to charge the knights. They're within the minimum range, and they are just within the front arc, so they can be charged. But the reason I want to do this is because the knights have lances and the cavalry impact, so I do not want them to charge in. The problem is, at this point, like, the only unit in this force now that has any hitting power are the Graveguard, who are now behind the enemy lines. So there's very little I can do to help here, especially if Volkmar focuses on these winnable fights. But yeah, so I will charge them. They get their free 90-degree rotation, and then they can move in. And in the same way I didn't penalise them for moving over this part of the ruin, I'm not penalising the skeletons either. The Graveguard are going to reform, and they are also going to try and march. Because, I mean, ideally I'd charge, but, you know, I can't. So if I try and march, they're within 8, so they need to pass a leadership. Using Jacques' 8, they pass. So that means they can march, because they are also obviously within range of the general. And the reason for this is it gets them up here, so they can't actually... If I don't charge them... if I don't march them, then they could charge the halberdiers next turn. I'm wondering how I can win this, you see. And at the moment it's looking incredibly ropey over here. But like, if I move them up, then they get within range so that an upcast invocation could potentially hold them on. It's very unlikely, though. Maybe I should just focus on the halberdiers. I'm just worried what they're going to do, you see. Alright, I've moved them back a bit. They're still within the 18 inches of these zombies down here, but it means that, assuming the halberdiers are still there next turn, we can charge them in the flank and probably win this combat. So, yeah, I need to think long term, and this fight over here, like, it's pinned down their best unit for most of the game, so even if that's all that happens over here, I still think it's worth it. Oh, I didn't realise that was empty. So yeah, I think I'm better off focusing on the halberdiers. And I'll move Volkmar 4 inches this... no, I'm going to have to aim him a bit better. 4 inches that way, so that he's just within 6 inches of this. I can't get him in with that, which is a shame. Ooh, arguably that's within the... because I do it based on the edge of the line and like the top of the base, so technically it can march because he's within 4 inches, but I think that's questionable, I'd say. Or is it? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to push it. Magic, and I really think this one's going to count. Ooh, 9, good. Channeling Empire. Channeling Vampire. 1. 10 power, 5 dispel. I am considering something incredibly stupid. Like, these knights are going to win this fight. I think we all are aware of that, and it's just been a holding action this whole time. I could, like, try a max upcast invocation to try and make them last a little longer, but they'll probably die to unstable this round anyway. I don't think there's any way I can save them. However, I've just checked, and I cannot find any rules saying you cannot cast a magical vortex into a combat. So, I'm wondering, is it worth shooting a Wind of Death over here to try and kill off these guys because it ignores armor saves, and armor is the only reason these guys are still alive. So if I get a Wind of Death over them, I could do a whole load of damage and weaken this unit to a point where, it'll probably still win the combat, but it may not be a threat anymore. Let's start off with Volkmar casting Invocation slightly upcast, because then that'll trigger his Vigor Mortis and such. So I think 3 dice on this. He needs a 12 minus his 2 for a 10, which he gets. 11, 13 total. I don't know if they should try and dispel this. Given where it is, and the fact that it's going to give them always strikes first, it could be worth it, but like they are concerned. I don't know that anyone would predict a magical vortex going over there. Based on how they have been playing up to now, it seems more likely they would try and persist this combat, particularly as they did move to within 18 inches. This is one of the downsides of me playing by myself. You know, I can read my own mind. I know that sounds crazy, but I can. And it makes it difficult for sneaky tactics and like trying to work out if the opponent would clock what's coming or not. Which is why I try and explain if it's like, oh, they're clearly saving dice, etc. But, you know, that was a fairly innocuous one. I don't know that they would see that... I don't know that they would see that as a threat, but I also don't know if they would see that as the biggest threat to come, perhaps? Because he's the most centrally located. You know, he's going to heal all of these, which is... yeah, I'd say that's a pretty big threat. All of the 3 big units are about to get bigger, but they're going to need to use most of their dice to try and get rid of it, and that's going to leave them with 7 untouched. No, I think they'd hold off because they have 7 more dice to go. That is, yeah, there's too much they could still do. So let's go around, starting with the skeletons. They regain d6 plus 2 models, that's 6 more, filling out their back rank, and 1 extra, who I'm going to put over here so he impedes the zombies the least. The zombies, being newly dead, gain 2d6 plus 2. 11. Ooh, that is literally the most that could have fit here. Not a single extra model could have fit here. So, good rolling. And then the Graveguard, 6 as well, making that unit look a little healthier. I think Jacques will cast Raise Dead on 2 dice. So, minus the 4, he needs a 5. Which he gets. Are they going to let that one pass? They're letting a lot pass here. I think they're going to try and dispel that, because they don't want another unit of zombies showing up. So they're going to use all 5 dice to try and dispel that, which they obviously get. So that leaves 5 dice free for Jacques to do a Wind of Death. 15 minus the 4, 11. Irresistible. Ah, yeah, no, that's a bit of a spanner. Because the reason they used all of their dispel dice is Evald still has a Dispel Scroll, I believe. I don't think he's already used it. If he has, whoops. So they were planning, oh, as long as it's not an irresistible force, then we can dispel whatever they're holding onto their dice for. It being irresistible means they absolutely can't do that. And instead, we're going to have a vortex flying unrestrained at them. So it goes artillery dice times 3, 12 inches. That might not be enough. Oh no. 12 inches. It is just enough to touch the unit. So it ends there. So it hits the skeletons and the more inner circle. Because it's if a unit is touched, not a model. Both of these take d6 hits per rank with no armor saves allowed. So that's not much. It's not much, is it? But, yeah, it's... Oh, sorry, I accidentally clicked and changed the battlefield into a rock. Given that this does a different amount of hits per unit normally, I'm going to say that it should be rolled separately. So I'll roll d6 for the skeletons. They take 1 strength 3 hit. No armor save, no wound anyway. And the knights take 3. That was almost a 6. It was threatening to be a 6. 1 wound. 1 wound because it's a 4+, sorry. 1 wound, no armor save. I mean, that's not great, but it also, as long as it doesn't fizzle out next turn and they don't move, it will hit them again. Okay, let's see what happens to Jacques then. All he has to do is survive this and he will regain a wound because of 8. Magical feedback. Yeah, he'll survive. Every model on the side that can generate power or dispel suffers a strength 6 hit. Jacques. Wounded. Volkmar. Wounded. Ooh, so Volkmar's down to 1 wound, as is Jacques. However, Jacques has just successfully cast a spell from the Law of Vampires, which means the Curse of Undeath Law attribute takes effect, which happens after, or to be honest, it doesn't really matter if it happens before or after the miscast. My interpretation is after, but either way, he regains a wound lost earlier in the battle, because he successfully cast a Law of Vampires spell. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That may make a difference here. It didn't make anywhere near as much of a difference as I was hoping for such a bloody risky gamble, but anyway. Shooting. The Mortis engine is going to ghostly howl at the Knights of More. 2d6 plus 2, and they need to roll higher than 8. Come on! Bloody hell! It's... Okay, whatever. Next. Combat. I'll do this one first, because if they can take out Gottfried, then... which is very unlikely, by the way. But yeah, if they can take out Gottfried, then he'll flee, and they won't be able to use the banner. Yes, because of Vigor Mortis, these zombies have always strikes first, but before we do that, let's roll Fear on 8. They pass. Never mind. Zombies. We have 30 zombie attacks. 6. 8. I mean, that's probably about average. No, it's just below average. It was a third. 5 wounds. No saves. Almost all 2s as well. Weird. So that is actually the back rank of Halberdiers gone. Oh, sorry, they're not supposed to test for fear because of the Wailing Banner. My mistake, but they didn't fail it anyway, so we're okay. Gottfried's attacks. 3 hit. 3 wound. Raymond. 1 hit. No wound. 29 halberdier attacks. 11. 19 total. I probably can't roll 19 in one. They won't fit around the roller. 8. 16 wounds. That is a lot of zombies they just cut down. 1 for the standard, 1 for the battle standard, 1 for the standard, 1 for a rank of 5, 2 ranks of 5, which means they win by 16. Bloody hell. That is almost the entire unit gone. I made a mistake putting more zombies in combat. I thought, oh, this can only help me. No, it means more halberdiers can kill them very, very quickly. Alright, we'll do this one. It's the knights first, all of them first. Fine, against zombies. 3 hit. 2 wound. Only 4 knight attacks can actually hit the remaining zombies. Only 2 hit. And no wounds. 2 knights against skeletons. No hits at all. 2 horses against zombies. 1 hit. 1 wound. 2 horses against skeletons. 1. No wound. 1 zombie against the knights. Miss. 6 skeletons against knights. 5 hit. 2 wound. Both saved. Not the absolute blowout I expected. Banner on each side. And yeah, they lose by 2, so the zombies are gone and the skeletons are still standing somehow. Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to remove that 1 skeleton from underneath the vortex. Got him. I'm stunned that this combat still hasn't ended. Skeletons versus the Knights of More. I forgot to roll fear for Fine's unit again, so roll that now. 9, yep, they're fine, and rolling it for Luther's unit, also fine. Not fine as in Wolfgang fine, fine as in not afraid fine. 10 knight attacks against skeletons. 8. Only 2 wound. 1 saved. 10 skeleton attacks, and although they have spears, they charged this turn, so therefore cannot use them. 4 hit. Only 1 wound. Not saved. Although, I think they are technically using hand weapons, so maybe they should be getting a parry save. So I'm going to rule that they can get a parry save, which they fail anyway, so 1 knight dead. 5 horses, 1 hit, no wound, and Luther forgot to use his magic powers again, didn't he? Oh well. 2 Luther attacks, 2 hit, 2 wounds, because it's a great weapon, so that's why he went last and why they get absolutely no saves from it. The skeletons have a banner and the knights don't because they fled. The knights get 1 for rank and the skeletons get 3 for rank, so the skeletons win again. So Luther's unit are testing on a 6 with a reroll as they are within range of Gottfried. Because they have Luther's 8 minus the 2, so they fail the first one. And they fail the second one. Oh, this is a really bad look for Luther. So they flee. Swift strides, they roll 3, 12 inches. And are pursued 4. Wow. What is it with Empire special characters fleeing? Like, this happened with Volkmar the Grim as well. So 12 inches is not quite enough to get them off the board, but very, very close. Oh, actually, the 2 he killed did actually get a save. They get a regen save. They both fail anyway. Alright. And then the skeletons move 4 inches. I chose the one thing that doesn't get measured. The skeletons move 4 inches this way, meaning they are a prime shooting target. And we go into Empire turn 4. And there isn't a lot they can do. They pretty much only have Evold and the crossbowmen. So let's try and rally these knights again on an 8. They are without beyond the range of a reroll, but they do pass anyway. Again, they're getting very good at this, like, rallying after fleeing thing. I think Evold is going to stay where he is, and that's it. Magic, 7. Channeling Empire, 1. Channeling Vampire, none. 8 Power Dice, 5 Dispel. I think Raymond will cast Shield of Faith on a 3, so he's going to use 2 dice. They have plenty to play with. Pass. I think they're going to let that one through. They need 2 or 3 dice to guarantee dispelling it. Luther is going to cast his unique battle prayer, Unbending Righteousness, which gives Stubborn. It's still a battle prayer, so he still only needs a 3 on 2 dice. Yeah, gets it. Not going to try and dispel that one either. And now Evold is trying to decide whether to do the Purple Sun or Soul Blight. Because, like Purple Sun, he could take a big chunk out of the Graveguard. The problem is at this angle, it's going to go behind the front line and could very easily scatter in future turns onto his own troops. Actually, what he will probably do is a better idea is get rid of this vortex, because he doesn't want that to further diminish this unit. So, they probably could have combat reformed, couldn't they? Yeah, they won the combat, so they would have reformed so that they're no longer being flanked. Like so. But yes, I think he's going to use 4 dice to try and dispel the vortex. So he needs 15, 13 minus his 2. 12, he doesn't get it. And it's a shame that they didn't get to use any of their dispel dice, but they were expecting him to do something. They didn't think he'd dispel the vortex because I forgot it was a thing. But yeah, yeah, the vortex continues, and now that it's the end of the magic phase, the vortex may do something nasty. So the vortex moves artillery dice inches on the scatter. 10 inches, and you use the little roll. So it does hit them and then moves off of them. So it hits both of these units again, d6 on each. Skeletons, 2. No armor saves allowed, so that's 2 skeletons gone. d6 on the knights. Oh no, they get no armor saves against this. Uh-oh, uh-oh. 3 knights just die, their entire back rank gets killed by the wind of death. But then it moves 10 inches this way, and is still on the board. What would be bloody hilarious is if that scatters onto Evold next turn. That would be fun. Shooting, the 6 crossbows are going to go for the skeletons because they've had no luck at all against the Mortis engine, which, to be honest, has not been much of a threat. They're at short range, 2 hit, 2 wound, no armor, 1 regen, so 1 skeleton gone. Combat. Let's finish off these skeletons. Finds attacks. 3. 2 wound. No armor. No parry. It's done. Gah, that has consumed them for almost the entire battle. Because of his bloody frenzy. Alright, so where are they going to go now? Unfortunately, they've got this obstacle in the way, which is a problem for cavalry, but I think they're going to have to direct that way just to, yeah, so that they are guaranteed to, or much more likely to, I always say guaranteed when I don't mean it, yeah, they're much more likely to actually be able to contribute in the final couple of turns. And then this one is also very, very likely to be the end of these zombies. And I don't know if the zombies are still affected by Vigor Mortis, because the phrasing is all friendly undead units within 6 inches, which they are no longer, until the start of your magic phase. So, does that mean any that were within range have it until the start? Or if there are any within 6 inches until the start, they have it? So, I would say, because usually it's, it specifies one way or the other, I'm going to say it is likely if something is within it, then they have it. And as the zombies aren't, then they don't. I did forget to roll fear for Fine, which he failed. Fine failed his fear. Frick. Oh, never mind, he still would have hit on a 4, which he rolled higher than that, so never mind. And this unit don't need to test because of the Wailing Banner that Gottfried has. Gottfried's attacks, 1. Also, I've just realised that in the fight with the Knights last turn, they should have got Hatred, because they get Hatred in the beginning of each combat. Sorry. They hit most of their attacks, so I don't think it would have made a big difference. Theoretically, it could have, but oof. Oh yeah, and Raymond will make way so that he's in this combat as well. Gottfried fails to wound. Raymond's attacks, 2 hit, 1 wound. Only 7 halberdiers can actually attack them. 7 halberdiers, 5 hit, 3 wounds. That is the zombies wiped out. Whew. Like, zombies are very good at holding on. Like, considering how cheap and how crap they are, the fact that there were zombies on the board until this turn shows that they are very tenacious. So now the question is, what do the halberdiers do? Because they are expecting to be charged by the Graveguard. That's why they cast the Shield of Faith. They didn't need it against the zombies, but when they fight the Graveguard, that 5+ ward will be very, very useful. And given that the only threats other than the Graveguard are these 2, which have been staying out of combat, I think they're better off reforming to there, which does keep them still in the front arc, but it means that they're not going to be hit in the flank. Sylvania, turn 5. And the reliquary, 2d6 plus 5 now. Ooh, 13. That is a decent roll, and is still not enough to hit them, but is enough to hit the halberdiers, and provides the skeletons and the corpse cart with regeneration. So because it's turn 5, the halberdiers take 3 strength 5 hits. 3 wounds, and at that strength there is no armor that they can have. So 3 halberdiers dead. And to start off, the Graveguard are going to charge. Technically, what they're charging is within the minimum range. Because again, it's measured weirdly. They are within the front arc, so the unit can be charged, and the distance between the units is only 4 inches. So it doesn't even need to be like the distance to something in the front arc, which even then is still, yeah, I think is still within the minimum range. Yeah, it is. So they complete their charge by rotating and then moving in. So they will have to test dangerous terrain for 2 of them. Both pass. I think the skeletons are going to keep pursuing this because it seems to be working, and it stops the knights from charging, and if anything else, it just keeps them out of the rest of the fight. So they need a 4, which is a decent chance on 2 dice, which they get. So the knights are charged by the skeletons again. And I think I need to really commit and do some damage quickly, because these knights are going to be coming in and doing something, so I think Newhouse is best charging as well. So he is also within the minimum range, and I believe he is in the flank, easily in the flank, so he is going to just charge in with his corpse cart. And the Mortis engine, which has a movement of 8, I think is also going to try and charge. So they are, that counts as 14 inches. He's going to try and charge the crossbowmen because the Mortis engine has a decent chance against them. But the moment he charges, they have to test for fear because the Mortis engine causes terror. They're no longer within 3 inches of their regimental unit, so they're testing on their own, which is 7, but they do still get the reroll for the banner. They fail. So the reroll, they pass. So they can stand and shoot at short range, all of them. 4 hit, no wound. With a movement of 8 and needing to go 14, they need to roll 6, and the Mortis engine does not have Swift Stride, makes the charge anyway. So the Mortis engine just speeds up to here. That was quite a lot of charges. And magic, 6. Empire channel, none. Vampire channel, none. 6 power, 4 dispel. Jacques is going to open up with a Dance Macabre on his own unit on 2 dice, just to be sure. Pass. Total of 10. And they only have 4 dispel dice. Then again, there's probably only 1 more spell coming, so they're... but what could it be? It's probably an invocation. Yeah, I think they're going to let the Dance Macabre through, because although they get rerolls to hit with the Graveguard, they're worried something else is coming. And because he's successfully cast a spell, Curse of Undeath, the lore attribute, means Jacques regains his last wound. Next, Jacques will cast Invocation of Nehek, the basic one, just the lowest one, so it needs a 6, again on 2 dice, which he gets. Total of 12. They're probably going to try and dispel that one. So yeah, they're going to put 4 dice into dispelling that, which they pass with 20. In using their dispel dice then, they've not touched this vortex, but to be honest, it's very unlikely. It would need to go there or there in order to do any damage, so it's unlikely it's going to hurt anyone. And then finally, Jacques is going to cast Raise Dead. So he needs a 9 minus his 4 is a 2 on his last 2 dice. 7. Total of 11. There's nothing they can do to stop it, so it spawns 2d6 plus 3 zombies. Wow, 15 maximum zombies. This is another one of those times when I probably should have cast this before Invocation. I always forget the order of that. But it can be anywhere within 18 inches, so he is going to spawn it, defending this barricade, so that if Wolfgang decides to charge, he's going to have to charge the zombies defending the barricade, and given his frenzy, he does have to charge. And once again, the Curse of Undeath allows someone within 12 inches of Jacques to regain a wound, so Volkmar shall regain the one he lost. Overall, not a bad magic phase. And the Mortis engine going into the shooting phase can still use its ghostly howl, but it has to be against the unit it's in combat with. So it is 2d6 plus 2, so 12, which means the crossbowmen, who have a leadership of 7, instantly lose 5 wounds. Why could it not have been that against the knights? Why did it have to be that against the bloody crossbowmen, where there is literally now 1 left? Oh, sorry, I need to do the Wind of Death. So it is artillery dice, scatter, up, misfire, so the Wind of Death fizzles out. Considering it's a 1 in 6 chance to get the misfire, it's crazy how often that bloody result comes up. Let's start off with these skeletons against Luther's unit. The knights go first, or rather a fear test comes first, which they just pass, because they needed an 8. And I've remembered they have hatred this time, so they reroll misses. These are the knight attacks. With the reroll, that is 9 hits. 1 wound. Bloody abysmal. And they pass their armor. Wow. Okay, this was their one chance. So that was supposed to be 5 horses. I only rolled 4. 3 hit. Still only 3. Hatred, reroll the misses. 5. I don't know if horses benefit from hatred, but rules as written they do. 1 wound. Can horses hate? I don't want to think the horses can hate. Again, they pass their armor. And again, the skeletons charge, so can't use their spears. Only 10. Only 2 hit. No wounds. Luther's attacks. 2 hit. 2 wound. No armor, but they do get their regen. Both failed. So the only wounds were Luther with his hammer. Skeletons have a banner. Knights get 1 for rank, skeletons get 3 for rank, so again the skeletons win. However, because of unbending righteousness, the knights are stubborn, so they're still testing on an 8. Which they fail! Okay, well, they flee. They flee 9. The skeletons are going to restrain, which they have an incredibly low chance of doing because they have a leadership of bloody 3. And they manage... Okay. I mean, that's incredibly bad for the Empire. The stubborn unit with Luther Huss, the prophet of Sigma, flees the board because they move 9 inches and they're off the board. They're gone. I cannot believe that. They fled the board and the skeletons pass their leadership and can reform. So they're just going to turn around. I am stunned by that. Next is the Mortis engine versus the crossbowman. First of all, impact hits. This is probably going to kill the last guy. The Mortis engine inflicts d6, 2 impact hits at strength 5. So if either of these is a hit, yeah, he's dead. The last guy's dead. Didn't even get to fight. Ooh, he does have a ward save. He's got to pass both, though. He passed one, but not the other. So, very, very close. He was almost saved. I mean, he still almost certainly would have died in the combat, but anyway. So the Mortis engine will reform to face that way. And then this massive combat. First of all, impact hits from Newhouse's corpse cart. This inflicts d6 at strength 3, 4, 2 wounds, 2 failed armor, but they do get a ward, 1 pass, 1 fail. However, no augments were cast on the corpse cart this turn. I was hoping to with the invocation, sadly not. So, they don't have always strikes first. The Graveguard champion will challenge, and Priest Raymond will accept. So we will do that first. Oh, and they don't actually have to take a fear test. Normally they'd have to roll 3 because of the screaming banner that the Graveguard have, but the Gottfried is carrying the wailing banner, which means they cause fear. So they're unbreakable, so they don't actually need to test for fear themselves, even though normally terror versus fear, it would cause fear in the other direction, but because they're unbreakable, they don't. First round of the combat, so the Halberdiers have Hatred. Raymond, 2 hits, 2 wound, and although 1 save, the other did not, and that is enough to kill the Graveguard champion. Next up is Gottfried, 3 hit, no wounds, and everything apart from the corpse cart itself strike at the same time. So I'll start off with Newhouse, miss. Sorry, the Graveguard strike last because they have great weapons. 2 Halberdiers against Newhouse, 1 hit, still a miss on the reroll, no wound. 4 are going to try and hit Jacques. 2, 1 more with reroll, no wounds. They could have killed him. And then 11 more are the only ones who can hit the rest of the unit. 7, 10 total with rerolls. 4 wound, no saves. Oh, sorry, Jacques got a reroll because of Dance Macabre. I don't think he hit. I'm fairly sure he missed with the... I think he rolled the 1. Yeah, he rolled another 1. Never mind. 9 Graveguards striking the unit of Halberdiers. 4, 7 with the reroll. Any 6s ignore armor, so that is 1 instant wound and 3 more. But actually their armor isn't good enough, so that is just 4 wounds. And they get a ward save, which saves 1, but 3 more die. And then right at the end, the corpse cart is pulled by a load of zombies on spikes, and they get 2d6 random attacks. 4. No hits. So they have a banner each. They have 1 for the battle standard, and they get 1 for rank, because they need 5 people, they've only got 3. The Graveguard get 3 for rank, meaning the undead win by 2. They're testing on Gottfried's 8 minus the 2, so 6 with a reroll, which they don't need, they hold. Empire, turn 5. As I said before, Fine has to charge because he has Frenzy, and to be honest, it's his only chance of getting anywhere near anything, so he is going to charge. It is just outside of minimum, they need a 3 on 3 dice, sorry I rolled 2, but they make it anyway. And that is it. Magic, 12. No point channeling for the Empire, but 2 for... oh, no, none for the vampires. Because you can't ever have more than 12, you see, so that's why there's no point channeling. Raymond's going to cast Shield of Faith, needs a 3, gets a 10. Going to allow that through again. Hammer of Sigma, also on 2, 9. I think they're going to allow that one through as well, which is a bit risky, but I think they're going to do it. So they get to reroll to wound. And then he's going to cast Soulfire, because if you can cast all of these so cheaply and easily, why would you not? 6. That one he's going to try and dispel, also with 2 dice. 4 plus his 4 is 8, that's enough. And that leaves 6 dice for Evil to cast Soul Blight on the Graveguard. Scratch that, he's going to bubble it. So he's going to upcast it, he needs an 18, 16 minus his level. Not irresistible, gets a 19, that is cast. Trying to dispel with all 4, that is a bad roll. 14, not enough, it is cast. So every enemy unit within 24 inches, that is all 3 of these, and that, have -1 strength and toughness. That is really bad. There is no shooting, so we will go into this combat, where the Halberdiers have a ward save and reroll to wound, the Graveguard reroll to hit, Newhouse has regeneration, and the Graveguard and Newhouse both have -1 strength and toughness. So first of all, Raymond will challenge, and Jacques will refuse the challenge, moving to the back so that he cannot be struck in combat. Gottfried's attacks, 3 hit, 1 wound, rerolled as 3. 1 was saved. Raymond, 2 hit, 1 wound, rerolled to 2. None saved. 3 Halberdiers against Newhouse, 1 hit, a wound, however he has regeneration, and recovers it. Oh yeah, he probably should have taken that when he got the feedback as well. Oh well. Although I actually don't know. I don't know if... I assume he benefits from the corpse cart's regeneration. It's a bit unclear because in a lot of ways the corpse cart and Volkmar are treated as different units. Yeah, I don't know. 11 halberdiers against Graveguard. 6. 4 wound. Rerolled to 5. None saved. This combat is going incredibly poorly for the vampires. New house. Hit. No wound. 10 Graveguard. 4 hit. Rerolled to 8. 6 wounds. 2 get killing blow, but the other 4 do get an armor because of their reduced strength. No, they don't, because they're still striking with... Oh, sorry, I forgot they have great weapons, so they're wounding on a 2+. Damn, that may have affected the previous round. I may have mistaken... Oof, whoops. But no, even with the -1 strength, they're still wounding on a 2+, so that would have been 8 wounds, not 6, and all of them go through or ignore armor. And then 2d6 random attacks from the Restless Dead on the corpse cart. 10. Only 2 wound. 1 save. Ooh, that was incredibly messy. So, a banner on each side. Standard bearer on the Empire side. They don't get any ranks because they're down to 4, whereas the Graveguard get 3 ranks. So the Graveguard and the Undead win by 3. I forgot about the ward saves. 9 ward saves for the wounds from the Restless Dead and Graveguard. 3 were saved, which I believe actually tips things over because that's 3 fewer wounds they get, and then they get 1 for having a rank of 5. So in fact, the Empire win by 1. So both sides take a wound. And with Newhouse, I don't know whether he takes the wound or the corpse card does, or both do. Like, it's 1 unit, so they shouldn't both take it, I don't think. So I'm going to take it off the cart. And 1 Graveguard. And then here, Fines unit versus the zombies. And because they're attacking, they charged an obstacle, they have -1 to hit. Fines attacks, 4 hit. Only 2 wounds, wow. Sorry, I forgot they have impact hits as well, so they do 5 impact hits at strength 3. 5 wounds, 5 night attacks, 2. Both wound. Forgot to test for fear again. They pass. 5 horse attacks, 3. 3 wounds. I forgot to account for the bloody obstacle. Oh my god. Yeah, that should have had an effect. The knights would only have 4 hits, maximum of 2 wounds. Yeah, 2 wounds anyway. The horses would only have 2 hits, and they get 1 wound instead of 3, leaving 5 zombies to strike back. No hits. Obviously, the zombies lose by 10, so they're all wiped out. Not a surprising result, but that's still not good to see. So they get to overrun. And unlike other times, Swiss Stride doesn't increase this. But they overrun by 7 inches. So they move 7 directly forwards, because they have to go directly forwards. However, all 5 of them have overrun over an obstacle, and that is dangerous terrain for cavalry. Champion. Fine. 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 3 others. 1 fail. So 1 in a circle dies charging over the fence. And we now go into Sylvania's final turn. The final reliquary +6. Ooh, total of 16. I would not be surprised if that is everything on the board. That is everything on the board except Ewald. So both the Halberdiers and Fines unit take D6 strength 6 hits. Halberdiers, 3. No armor saves at all against that, too high strength, so that is 3 dead. Fines unit, 6. Oh, that could be the decider, especially as there are so few, so I think we have to assign them individually again. I legit cannot find the rules about shooting distribution. I'm certain I've looked it up before, and that when you have fewer than 5 left in the unit, you have to go 1 by 1, but I cannot find the rules, so I'm just going to do it that way, because, ugh. So, in this we have 2 ordinary, Fine, and the champion, and they've got to go down the line, so I'll start with this and then along like that, just to be fair. So, ordinary, wound, still gets an armor, Witchy fails. Next is fine. Wound. Fails. Champion. Wound. Passes. Other ordinary. Wound. Passes. And now they go round again, so fine again. Wound. Fails. And that is his last wound, so fine is killed by just the dark aura of the Mortis engine. And then the final hit on the champion. Wound. Fails. Leaving only the battle standard bearer as the last surviving member of the Inner Circle Knights. And of course he has to immediately take a panic test as he has just had 3/4 of his unit destroyed. Testing on an 8. Passes. I really didn't expect it to be that devastating, so I'm just going to move that just to get rid of this thing in the way. For movement, the Mortis engine is going to charge. It's easily within its minimum. It has a movement of 8, and I'm just going to turn off the snap. So that charges into the rear. And the skeletons are going to just move up. Not that it really matters. Magic. 3. Well, this is going to be an impressive magic phase, isn't it? Channeling 2 for the Empire. Nope. Channeling 2 for the Vampire. 1. 4 power and 2 dispel. Sadly, they can't dispel the minus strength and toughness because you can only dispel like that if it's a remains in play spell. So I think their best bet is to try and outlast them. So I reckon an Invocation of Nehek is probably the smart thing to do here. Ordinary casting, so needs a 6. Ooh, yep, that gets it, because 5 plus is 4, so total of 9. They're going to try and dispel it, because it's the only thing they can do. They fail. I forgot he still has a bloody dispel scroll. This was his last chance to use it too. So I don't need to roll to heal the corpse cart, because it can only heal 1, being a large target. Mortis engine is uninjured. It's too short range for the skeletons. So it is just the Graveguard. Recovers d6 plus 4. 5. And I think Volkmar will also try and cast Invocation at lowest, just to give the Graveguard that little bit more of a buff. So needs a 6. Yep, gets it. It wasn't irresistible. That was the only reason I rolled, because they're using the scroll. They're using the scroll to get rid of it, because literally the last chance. So yeah. Shooting. The Mortis engine is going to use Ghostly Howl, and as much as I would love to target the knights, which are technically within range, when the Mortis engine is in combat, it has to target the unit with which it is in combat. Actually, they probably would have tried to reform from defeat. Sorry, they won the fight, and I found the ruling about distributing for shooting. Turns out, slightly wrong here. The standard bearer would not survive because, let me just put a marker where that is, and where's the thing I removed? The way it works, the reason I couldn't find the rules is because the rules are not in the basic part. To quickly go through it so that you're aware, as I am, is that when there are command units remaining, the musician is the first to die, the standard bearer is the second to die, and the champion is the last. The only exception to this is in melee combat or with templates, because then it hits specific models, and even then the banner and musician are still replaced, but the champion is not. And the only reason you do the one at a time thing is when there is a character, which there was, because it can hit him instead of the rank and file. So when it rolled and hit the champion, it would actually have hit one of the others instead, because the champion is always the last to remain when shot at. So that's why the champion's still alive, the banner is not. However, because the banner was shot, he doesn't get points at the end, whereas they have to be killed in either killed in combat or through the last stand rule, staying when they flee. So in this situation, being shot to death or killed by the Dark Aura from the Mortis engine rather, they do not get the bonus victory points for the banner. Anyway, yes, sorry, these would have reformed at the end of the last combat, so I will just quickly do that now. And then that would have charged in there, And this is because they had no reason to remain as a 10-wide unit, and they won the combat, so they can just do a reform without needing to check or anything, so yeah. But they would still have to sort of stay like this so that they're all in contact. Anyway, as I was, Ghostly Howl is made against the Halberdiers. So 2d6, and it is against their leadership of 8. So 8 plus the 2 is 10, minus their leadership of 8, so 2 Halberdiers die. No armor saves allowed, and the ward save that they have, that I have remembered exists this time, doesn't contribute to shooting, which that technically is. That was not a close combat thing, and battle prayers are specifically combat only. Speaking of which, combat. First of all, the Mortis engine inflicts d6 impact hits, and they will get saves against this, 2, because this is technically a close combat thing. I don't know if it's intended that they do, but I think they should. Strength 5. That's 2 wounds, so they get a 5+ ward save, because I don't believe they'll get an armor save. So that is 2 dead from impact hits alone. I do not fancy their chances in this combat. They are rather surrounded. Raymond will once again challenge, and Jacques will once again refuse, because he has no reason to stand and fight. They're not really using his leadership, which is the only other reason one would stay and not refuse a challenge. They don't really need it, so best he just stays out of harm's way. But they're going to have to split their attacks quite a lot here. So I'll do Gottfried and Raymond, who are both going for the Graveguard. They don't need to test for fear because of the Wailing Banner. Gottfried, 2 hit. They have -1 toughness, so 1 wound. Failed, and they get the regen. Failed. Sorry, they also have reroll to wound, but no, the reroll failed. Raymond's attacks? None. The only halberdiers who can actually attack the Graveguard are this one, and this one, because these ones are all in contact with another enemy. One of them's the champion, so 4 halberdiers against Graveguard. 3. 2 wound, even with the reroll. No armor. 1 regen, 1 dead. 1 halberdier against Volkmar. Hit. Wound. But he and the corpse guard have a 4+ regen, which he fails, so Volkmar takes a wound. And then 3 halberds against the Mortis engine. 3 hit. 2 wound. Rerolled into 3. No saved. 1 regened. So the Mortis engine takes 2 wounds. Both the Mortis engine and Volkmar and his corpse cart go before the Graveguard, who have great weapons. The Mortis engine's Banshee Swarm gets no hits. Newhouse himself, a hit, and a wound, which is not saved, so Volkmar, Newhouse actually gets a kill. The Corpse Master piloting the Mortis engine misses, and then both the Spirit Horde and the Restless Dead, which are pulling each of the Mortis engine and the Corpse Cart respectively, get 2d6 attacks. Spirit Horde first, 10. Oh, sorry, the Mortis engine actually has a regen of 4+, not 6+. I cannot for the life of me remember which of these many rolls was the Mortis engine, so I'm just going to take those 2 wounds. Let that be a lesson to me. 6 hits, 3 wounds, 1 of which is saved. 2d6 Restless Dead, 11. 3 hit, 2 wound miraculously. 1 save. Bugger. Sorry, they've got a ward save as well. That one was not. I believe there were 2 casualties that I forgot to do ward saves on. Oh, they both failed. Oh no, sorry, there were 5. I was reading the wrong thing. Yeah, 3 more ward saves. Wait, at least some of them were... I don't remember! God, there are so many dice. I don't remember. At least some of them were impact hits, I think. Oh well. I'm going to bring them back because... I don't remember. I'm sorry. Also, I have just realised that Invocation was cast on this, which gave all of them Always Strikes First. So, whoops, they should have gone before any of these. And now all the Graveguard, who, because they have Always Strikes Last from the Great Weapons and Always Strikes First from the Corpse Cart, that would mean they just strike their normal initiative, which is 3, so that's at the same time as the halberdiers. And I think I'm going to do all 10 just against the unit, because I don't think that they're going to get enough kills to wipe them out. 7. Oh yeah, they do still wound on a 2+ because of the great weapons, which is 4 wounds. No armor, but they get their ward save. No passes. I feel I should give myself some excuses here. Like, although the combat is edited to be pretty quick, it still takes me maybe like 10 minutes to do a combat like this, with all of the dice and all the rules checking, trying to make sure I don't forget anything, and I still somehow manage to. But that's why I do seem to forget so much in these, because when a combat's going on for 10 minutes, and it's like you're trying to make sure all the order is right, and you're trying to remember all the rules and stuff, it is very easy to forget particular things and get the order wrong, and there are so many numbers and so many dice. Like, just to put it in a bit of context, the Mortis engine has 4 stat lines for this one model. Because it's got the Mortis engine itself, which is like the chariot. You've got the Banshee Swarm, which are the creatures pulling it. You've got the Corpse Master, which is the guy riding it. And then the Spirit Host, which are these things flying around it. They all have different initiatives, different, various things, different number of attacks. So it's complex, this game. So anyway, after that completely fumbled thing, they have a banner, they have a battle standard. I've already added the ones for the flank and the rear and the charge, because you don't get the flank and the rear, you get one or the other. You get the rear if you can. And then 3 for ranks. So, the undead win by 6, which means they're testing on a double 1 with a reroll. No, I'm afraid they fail. They flee 2 inches. Oh, I mean, I think they are literally just dead, because the 2 inches won't even clear the Mortis engine. So the Mortis engine, literally whatever it rolls, will catch them. Because, yeah, they're effectively fleeing to there. Because they flee from the most numerous enemy, which is the Graveguard. They end on the Mortis engine. Even if they're moved to the far side of it, literally the Mortis engine just needs to roll a 1. On 2 dice. So yeah, I'm afraid they are wiped out. That was a very hard fought victory for the undead. So the Mortis engine will have pursued, so just for the sake of it, I will move it to there. Both of these are going to reform to face this. And then finally, Empire turn 6. All that's left is the final Inner Circle Knight and Ewald. I think the Knight... What would he do here? I think he'd go for the kill. I think he'd charge Newhouse. So yeah, he's going to do it. So he's going to charge Newhouse. And Ewald... Oh, I've got an idea. It's very cinematic. And that's sort of what we've been leaning into, isn't it? Okay, Ewald is going to move backwards and stand on this hill to watch. Magic, and this is perhaps a bit controversial, I'm not going to cast any spells. Ewald is not going to continue fighting, and I'll explain why at the end, but he's not going to do any magic. So the last thing is the combat between the Inner Circle champion and Volkmar. So first of all, impact hits. Just the 1 at strength 3. Wound. Turns out he does actually have an armor save. Whoops, I didn't know that. I've not given him that the entire game. But he does pass the regeneration. Fear test on his 8. He passes. And now he strikes at the same time as Newhouse. So he gets 2 attacks. Both hit. Both fail. Have I got chariots right? Newhouse, hit, wound against all odds, and the armor save is failed. Huh. Okay, that was unexpected. The horse still does get to fight. I can't believe that Newhouse actually killed the knight. The horse, hit, but no wound. So that is it. It is over. All that's left is Ewald, stood on this hill. Of the 180 undead that marched to this battle, 50 are left, plus 1. Because the reason Ewald chose not to continue fighting was he saw the futility of life. He saw the futility of trying to resist the undead scourge. He once considered being a necromancer, and upon seeing the true power of necromancy before him, he chose to surrender and beg to join them. I'm counting him as a casualty because he is no longer part of the Empire. Using the Law of Death, that is a law that necromancers in the vampire counts can actually use. So what I'm going to do is he is going to go before Manfred himself and beg to learn from him. And yeah, I guess we're going to find out if he succeeds or if Manfred just kills him. Either way, he is no longer part of the Empire. So let me know what you think of that. I think that's a really cinematic thing. It just lines up too perfectly to not do, you know? The Empire, with dead or fled, counting half destroyed units as worth half points, got 882. The Graveguard were exactly half killed, so they get half the points for that. In addition, they get 50 points for 2 Seas standards, bringing them to a total of 932. Sylvania, however, with dead or fled, scored 2,047. I'm counting Ewald as dead for the points of this, so that is literally all of the army gone. With this, they obviously killed the general for 100, the battle standard bearer for 100, and 2 standards for 50 more, giving them a total of 2,297. That is a difference of 1,365 points. Obviously, that is a massacre in Sylvania's favour and a loss for the Empire. Right until that last turn, I didn't know who would win this. If that combat had turned, if the knights hadn't been wiped out by the Dark Aura, they could very well have tipped this over. The magic really turned against them towards the end, but somehow they managed to just win. Because to clarify, if they had lost that combat, everything in the combat, all three, the Mortis Engine, the Corpse Guard, and the Graveguard, would all have suffered instability. So they could well have just been killed if they'd had a really bad combat. But that was the final battle of round 4. Next time I'll be going back to the campaign map and seeing how this has affected things. So let me know what you think of that cinematic decision of Ewald defecting and counting as dead. I like to think that this campaign is as much about the cinematography of it as it is about the battles. That's why you play a campaign. So I think it's a really cool idea, but let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you have tips for how I can better play these armies, put that in the comments. And subscribe for more board games, card games, miniatures like this, and TTRPGs. And I will catch you later.